Oh, baby. This is not looking great. It's not ideal. I found a canyon. It's not good. It's kind of how I live my life, honestly. Slow, hungry, poorly performing. These are all characteristics of Skag. Welcome in.
Echoes of Skag.
It brings out my inner skagginess, I guess.
Carrying your car battery, yeah, just a naked, sweaty man in the woods, starving to death, holding a car battery at night. That's like the epitome of Skag gaming.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Now they really know what they're getting into, I guess, you know?
Welcome to Skag's channel.
Do any of us?
And look, they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So I've decided to love my job evicting everyone off the island. That's the choice that I've made to have a happy space.
Kind of on it.
What weird things you're honored about. Right, first things first. What can you
You
see?
see me?
Is there any damage to the thruster?
You see me? Alright, I'll stop mucking about. God. Never take a minute to enjoy the little things in life. Come on. Alright, where are these thrusters? So please go ahead and get fucked. And we yeah, it's very sad. It's very sad. But you are staying in town instead of leaving like I asked you to do. Oh my god, everyone loved that person. This guy was obviously cheating. Because this chick came and cried. And then this chick came and cried. This guy is the pimp of the village. He obviously had something going on that not everyone in the village knew about. Right is a fire watch station. Oh no. This is the military base. The fire watch station is over here. Oh shit. Fuck. That's a landmine. Careful, there's landmines. I warned you.
I was stopped. I stopped, and then it blew me up. It must be time sensitive.
Oh my god. The game broke.
Is it the game?
Yes, because see what happened was I was jumping through this window,
Oh,
right?
you are just jammed through.
Hold on. Oh, I'm just gonna kill him. Get out of the way.
Yes.
Like how the first possible solution is kill me.
It was the last option too.
But I was jumping through the
Oh,
door.
look, I think.
Flaming tip sounds painful. Painful? Yeah. Flaming tip is a problem in this game, but it's always nice to have a flaming tip because it gives you a little extra penetration when you need it the most. It really helps sell the kill shot. You know? You might not know, but don't look away from me. I was staring at your tip. Let me see your tip. It's so flamey. Get real close. Get in there. Just get in the tip. Hey, I was looking at that. And make sure you hit the bell notification so that... God damn it, Porthos. You son of a bitch. Really? During the middle of a recording? That's when you're gonna... You good?
Did you ride over here or run?
I'd use my bicycle.
I don't have a bicycle.
I just found a Beretta 9mm.
Did?
Yes.
Bastard.
Could have been me, but it's over now. Skeg stole my gun.
And I lost it somehow. Must have been guns. But it's over now. Each time I get clutched, the time he finds out.
What is up? How are you now? Hope you're having a good one. Nemesis. Don't you have work to do? Are you trying to clear out of places? Open streamer bot. Not that it does nearly as much here. It's not the same. I wonder if the go live notification is going to work the way it's supposed to work. Because as of yet, it has not been. Which is interesting. Plus, Doug fiddled with it a little bit yesterday. I don't know. Man. I don't know how any of these bots work. I need a Douguk. And I haven't seen a Douguk today. He may be doing weekend summer family type stuff. As one does. I don't have my resident expert. Barbecue today, hanging out in the in civvies. I mean, yeah. To be fair, that was like every Friday for EOD. So like, yeah. Yeah, that was just like a Friday thing for us. It is what it is, though. Like, you know, you need time to step back and kind of relax and not be so serious all the damn time. But it is one of those, like, mandatory fun type things. So anytime you throw the mandatory in, it becomes less fun. That happens. Dims to rumors. So Kick's been acting fucking weird, man. Like, the amount of money they spent to acquire XQC on a non-exclusive deal, which benefits Kick way more than people think. Like, people are saying, like, oh man, how great is it that they did all that for a non-exclusive? That's just great for the creator, gives the creator options. No. Yes, but no. Realistically, the thought and the goal behind that is you allow someone to go live on multiple different platforms in order to drive them into your platform, which is the priority based on the contract because big money. So, yeah, you allow XQC to go live like 2 days on Twitch and like 3 or 4 days over on Kick. You're hoping that he funnels people that way with his continued discoverability and growth. That's just kind of the way it works. But like, I don't know. I'm looking at Kick. I'm going back and forth on it. Like, I don't trust the fact that it's owned by a casino. I don't think it has a sustainable like business model. Hey, it posted in the Discord correctly. It's only late. It posts like 10 minutes after the top of the hour. It's been terrible. Really getting sidetracked. I distracted myself. But like, they pay Amazon for time that they have streamers live. And then on top of that, they're giving streamers 95% of the sub split. And then on top of that, I mean, streamers don't get ad money, but I don't even know if Kick has advertising yet. think they do. If they play ads and they're not giving streamers ad rev, that's the one money source they have at the moment. But like that's still not enough to sustain the ability to host servers at the rate that like or size that Kick does. And it kind of shows that their infrastructure isn't completely like locked in and developed yet either, with the fact that yesterday the entire site crashed for several hours. And they said it was because of the massive influx of people signing up to the platform. But that also indicates a problem with signing big streamers, massive streamers, right? Like if your site can't handle the traffic that those streamers bring in, now you have to ask yourself, so if every time XQC goes live, am I going to have trouble staying live myself as a smaller streamer? Is XQC even going to be able to stay live while he comes over there? If he draws too many people in, can your servers handle it? And if not, like, what's your short-term fix for that? And how do you pay for that? And if you continue to just not care about money, is that because of whatever Stake is doing, which is concerning unto itself? That being said, right now I don't think I trust the platform. I own the Skegbroggy name on Kick just in case, because you never know. But I have questions that need to be answered, and I definitely want to make sure that if I went to start doing stuff on Kick, I prefer YouTube and Twitch right now. They're established. Yeah, they have their downsides and they have their corporate mentalities, but it's the evil you know versus the evil you don't. And my biggest concern is just exposing my community to an onslaught of trying to get them to gamble, which I don't necessarily support. So there's a bit of like moral opposition right now. And I just have to know what like that looks like. If I go over there and my viewers are just gonna get a bunch of stake.com like ads, then I don't want to be there. I don't think that that's the best. But if that's not the case, then maybe. But I just like, what is the monetization? What's the stability? Like, how does the platform sustain growth and the ability to stay live long term given their current monetization strategy? And that is concerning because, like, you know, you could start building over there and then tomorrow it's dead, right? It's what happened to Mixer. You hear about the 70/30 partner Twitch is doing? I mean, they're just bringing back the program that they had before. And I mean, it's a step in the right direction, but it's the smallest step in the world. What I would love to see, so like, there's a couple of things that, God, this is almost like something made for the podcast or a completely different day altogether. But for Twitch to like move towards a creator happy spot and stabilize themselves, they need to figure out how to control their money flow. They need to give creators options or pathways to better splits. I think what Twitch could realistically do is have a scaling monetized platform based on average viewers or subs or whatever they want to do. But as you go from affiliate, you know, you meet this benchmark or metric and you bump up to a 55 split and then a 60 and then a 65 and a 70. And if you scale it out like that, it would make creators a lot happier because it gives them a way to increase throughout their journey as they put more time, effort, and energy and try to stabilize their brand. The 70/30 split thing on Twitch right now, it's not a small feat. what they're asking people to do to hit that benchmark. It's not small. 350 subs reoccurring for 3 months. Gift subs don't count, and Amazon Prime subs don't count. That means you have to sit well above 350 active subs in order to like meet that guideline. You have to have 350 recurring subs essentially, and that's not small. It's not small at all. That's a fairly large sub count. And then, I mean, so if they had like a scaling system, it would make them a lot better as far as like creators being happy or having, you know, a way to kind of like gear towards improving what they get from the platform. But they also need to make sure that they're like stabilized in the way of, you know, having money to run their servers and staff. You know, they probably have spaces where they could cut back a little bit to make it easier for them, but that's on them to find. And realistically, they have to keep creators happy, because at the end of the day, they have arguably the best live service interface. Their UI is very clean. It's very intuitive. It's just a good experience for the creator and for the viewer, but they have the lowest monetization on all the platforms, which makes creators very unhappy. The viewers are there, the money is there. Right now, as of yesterday, Kick was sitting at an average of 300,000 live viewers per day, and Twitch was sitting at an average of about 3.5 million live viewers per day. So, and now with the news, there's this huge spike in creators. So does it skew the ratio of how many creators to viewers there are, right? And is it better here, there, or wherever? It's one of those things that stuff just has to play out, and we have to see how that works and what the company can handle and can't handle, and who ends up winning the great war of the streaming platforms. Right now, many have tried, many have failed when it comes to taking down Twitch, but they're still here. So like, they obviously, despite their inability to get a lot of good press, do something right. And then YouTube, the big fix on YouTube, what they really need, and I think would help them find a lot of creators, because I've talked to creators about this one, is if they had interactive abilities, if they had like channel point redeem type stuff. They don't have to call it that. Obviously, they don't call raids because they don't want to interact or like overlap with Twitch or whatever. So call it whatever you want. Loyalty points or viewing rewards or whatever you want to call them. If they had a system like that, I think a lot of Twitch people would be more inclined to look into YouTube full time. And not to mention that, like, it's still not super user intuitive to know when people are live on YouTube. Notification process is not the same or as consistent as you would get on Twitch. So like, there are questions, but what I really want to do today is, I avoided watching this yesterday, and I've avoided all the news from watching this yesterday. Diablo 4 did a campfire sit down with the devs to answer questions about the future of the game and where they're headed. And I want to know more. I need to know more. I would like to know what their plans are for that going into the future, because, you know, there's a lot of questions right now, and people are very concerned about what they may or may not have to redo every season or as they move forward. So let's watch a campfire. Is it playing? Playing? I can't tell. Play. Okay, it'll start soon. It's starting very soon. They had like a 30-minute just starting screen. Insanity.
The time of prophecy has come, knights.
Yep. Trailer. They haven't done nearly enough trailers, honestly. But all of them are great.
If we can't stop Lilith, we'll all be damned.
Hey, hello Diablo community. Welcome to the
Hello,
first ever
devs.
Diablo 4 campfire chat.
Now, this is not
First
a
ever.
This is not a live stream.
This is not well. This is
even though it's live.
it is live.
It's not a dev stream. It's not a dev stream.
It's not a developer update live stream.
Right.
As you guys know, this is
What-
a little bit different
what's the
than what we
difference?
had before. We still will have developer update live streams, but campfire chats. This is kind of a new show for us. We wanted to get an opportunity to get in front of the community and use this as a way of being able to talk with you guys whenever we need to. In a
The
casual
guy
format.
on the right doesn't
So
look like he's
don't
wearing a
expect lot of,
Diablo
like,
4 t-shirt. And you know
trailers
what? I
or
just...
videos and so forth.
how could he
We still
get
will
away
have
with
developer update
the
live streams.
disrespect?
Our next one is going to be in July, but we are
Everyone
most
else is
definitely gonna have one of
plugging
these
with the
campfire chats
shirts.
in the future. And with those developer update live streams, you will get those big announcements and
Plain
the big
black
reveals
tea.
and us
Way to
going
let
into more
down the
detail
team.
about big updates that might be coming up in the future. But for campfire chats, we want to use this format to kind of chat with the community and make sure that you all get an opportunity to actually hear from us and talk to us a little bit more often.
I still think my brain, like I was saying, instead of if we keep this seating arrangement instead of between two ferns, be between two jerks, but he wouldn't go for it.
Rod made up this joke literally 30 seconds ago, so...
Like, aren't you supposed to make up jokes on the fly? Like, what do you like script all your jokes?
I
So
mean,
you workshop them?
Who
I mean, it did
doesn't
go 30
script their
seconds,
jokes?
so it clearly
You
is not
know,
working
sometimes you
out.
have to be funny off camera and then try to be funny on camera. You know, it doesn't always. The magic has to happen when it happens, Adam.
Well, magic that did happen.
So you can see why this is a campfire.
There's a traitor amongst
we have to
us.
we actually have to get a campfire in
You
here.
do, or at least a flickering orange light.
And then
movie magic.
Yeah, well, a flickering light as opposed to a real campfire, so we don't burn down everything. And then
That's security watch we allow.
And then suddenly everyone will hate us. But we,
I brought s'mores.
you did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I brought a version.
Some more
of
of what?
s'mores. Like, I wanted Oreo s'mores, and I got Target like gerbated me, so I'm like, I have the Target brand s'mores flavored cookies. So if we want to really get into the campfire notion, we could eat s'mores while talking about
just
the
wanted
game.
to eat
I just
on
wanna eat
camera.
cookies. You don't get a body like this without eating cookies, Tiffany. Like, come on.
Rod
Wow.
also has explained
He fat shamed himself.
3 or 4 different times about his.
You guys, it's not
successful
fat shaming if it's
attempts to
yourself.
find s'mores.
I had a lot
Forgot
of
to-
desire to acquire Oreo s'mores last night.
It's been a morning,
S'moreos.
S'moreos.
I'm sorry, I'm saying it
S'moreos.
incorrectly. I wanted s'moreos last night and I failed, but I will drown my pain with Target brand s'mores cookies.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, while Ryan
Fair.
is doing that, we do want to talk about launch and how that went. Obviously, D4 is now out in the wild.
It is out in the wild.
Had a really great launch. I mean, like it's. You know,
It's
the
better than most have done
game reviews have been really good
in recent
You
history.
know, it's been a couple weeks since launch itself, and also like huge shout out to the team here, the live ops team, Tiffany here. By the way, I haven't done
You didn't even
intros.
introduce
I
people.
didn't even
You're a
introduce
terrible
people.
This is
host.
completely
This is
Slides
unscripted.
between two jerks. You didn't
Awful.
even introduce people.
Awful. All right, let me do that first before we
Did
actually.
you just make Joe Shelley facepalm?
Oh, wait, we
It's a
have to
small thing,
rewind
a
and go
really bad
back.
joke. It's just
We have to do the segment that was
Right
supposed
next
to
to your
happen
mic.
before this segment.
Yeah, as you like bite into the plastic and rip it off and so forth.
Back to the cookies.
Introduce the people.
All right.
Jeez.
Well, we have Joe Shelley here, who's the
Get your stuff
game director,
together.
for Diablo 4. We have Tiffany Watt here, who's our associate associate production director for Diablo 4.
Okay.
And then, of course, Rod Ferguson.
The franchise GM.
This Mario addict. But I mean, beyond just associate production, like Tiffany's, what is it? Your sphere of influence, your remit of control, your the things you're like. But live ops is your thing, right? That's kind of the thing.
Yes, it's one of the things I'm very passionate about. I work with a very, very large live ops team that goes beyond just the Diablo 4 team. So definitely congratulations to everybody across Blizzard that's been supporting
Beyond
us.
the Diablo 4 team.
Lots of time spent in the war room. Lots of time with
That's
Adam.
so
Adam
absurd.
was
Which is, it's a penalty unto
a
itself.
penalty. Yes, is the worst
Absolutely
part. No, it was really exciting to work with people across the globe. So lots of Zoom chats, but also a physical war room here on campus. And it was just really cool to finally launch this game, work with so many people to bring it to so many players. So congratulations to everybody, and I'm really glad that everybody is playing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
you know, we have sort of in a way a represent like of a great game and a great launch, right? Like the notion of sometimes you can have a really
Now, like, I think it was an absolute good launch. They had issues. They had some server crashes. They had some small stuff. But when you look at the current state of AAA title game launches, this one went very smoothly compared to others. There was issues where like PlayStation 5 players couldn't get in for like the entire first day almost because of like an issue. And then that issue happened to me like once on PC. There have been a small amount of crashes, but like overall, this game has launched much smoother than a majority that I've seen recently. I actually enjoyed Diablo 4's storyline more than the
awesome
others.
game, and the launch can kind of get in the way of it. You don't
It
get
was
to
a good
experience that
story.
game the way you want to. And so
Like,
I think,
it's a well-developed
people to
game.
represent the-
It just,
you know,
you
that,
can tell that
90
the
rated
time and
game then
energy
the ability
was
to
put
play it
into
since it
making
was
it what
launched,
it
you know,
is.
so it's awesome. And yeah,
Which
thank you
is
so much to
nice.
everybody who play. You know, we just crossed 350 million hours of play. Which is phenomenal and very exciting.
That's a lot.
Again, thank you so much.
It's like a
part of
lot,
this
a lot.
conversation, I think, really is about that. Like, what happens to a game that gets 350 million hours of play against it? And so, you know, obviously, when you're making the game, you can't apply 350
that
million
like
hours
one
of play time against it
person,
and
or
find, oh, maybe this balance isn't quite what we wanted, or this feature isn't working quite the way we want. And so we wanted to take this opportunity to kind of talk about, you know, now that we've seen it out there for, by the way, it's only been 10 days. And, you know, we talk about the Diablo 4, this launch is really just the beginning of our journey with Diablo 4. You know, this is something we're going to support for years to come. We're working on seasons. We're working on expansions. Notice that was a plural word. And
Seasons
so
and
all
expansions,
that stuff is
super
going into
important.
the future. And so the fact that we love the feedback, we're on day 10, and you know, and that's something that we're really sort of, this is the kind of stuff we're
we've
focused on.
contributed a lot to those
I do, like,
numbers.
if I can
Nah,
stay on my
not me.
soapbox for just 1 second.
I mean, I hardly touch the game.
I do want to like.
I almost never
I think one of the
touch it,
conversations we
honestly.
can have is around like the expectation around changes. Because I find, like,
I've touched it way too much.
in a live service like this, in Tiffany's world, the notion of a hot fix, which is, how would you like describe to somebody who maybe doesn't understand, like whenever Adam's like, we're doing another hot fix, like what is a hot fix from a player's perspective?
So there's a lot of issues that we are able
like
to hotfix on the
dev-splaining
server,
to
whether
us
it's
right
in
now.
code or server data. And those are ones that generally we can turn around a little bit quicker. Obviously, we want to make sure that the fix is solid, doesn't break anything else in the game, that our QA team has an opportunity to run through it and ensure that if we roll it out, when we roll it out to the
Are they dev-splaining to us right now? Are they trying to like relay what a hot fix is to people who play video games who have probably experienced hot fixes countless times in the modern era of live service? I'm getting dev-splained. I don't like it.
servers to all of our players that it actually improves the game and fixes the issue that we've come across. We also have the opportunity to do client fixes. Those ones are just, it requires an update to the actual player's client. In both cases, for the most part, they are seamless so that players can get that change while they're playing the game. I'm sure you've noticed sometimes when you're logging out that your Battle.net client will pick up an update, or you'll pick it up on your console. So the
every
next
once
time
in a
you
while.
log in and play Diablo 4, you pick up that client update. Hotfixes are seamless, so as you're playing and you're doing server transitions, as you're going through the world, you'll automatically pick up that update. In both cases, should be
What is
seamless,
this?
and something that we work
Hotfix.
very, very hard on.
Please.
Client fixes
Tell me
tend
more.
to take a little bit more time to get out to our players. We want to treat all of our players. I mean, I'm a console player myself. I know that Joe Shelley plays on console. Rod Ferguson plays on console. And PC.
Gonna set off
super important
Mischief.
that we get these fixes out to our players at the same time.
Don't let
so that
Mischief
everyone
know that the
plays
entire
Diablo 4,
dev
regardless
team
of how
is
they're playing,
console players.
Can experience the same game and the same quality of
Loses.
Like for the client, what we call the client, so the way you're playing on your actual device, that because we support multiple platforms, we have to often go through certification, and so that's one of the things about pacing, that we have to oftentimes pre-plan out what we're fixing, and so hot fixes are stuff we can kind of do on the fly. It doesn't require a certification pass. Again, it's meant to be seamless, so occasionally we'll have some hiccups as we.
Okay.
But it's sort of philosophically, it's something that we decided as a team, that rather than bringing the whole game down for an hour to roll out a server change, we would do sort of this sort of rolling changes. And 9 times out of 10, no issues. Occasionally, based on just the scale, like we haven't worked at the scale before, and so sometimes when you're refreshing,
Turns
this number of
sweaty into
servers,
salty
there's some
sweaty.
players on it.
You act like Mischief isn't already I mean, like, look, there's a lot of salt in the Skagbrag community. Let's not pretend that that's not the case. Like, there's a certain level of salt that's almost expected from the greater community at large, right? I don't think I would turn him into salty. He's already there.
We could hit a hiccup, and we've hit a couple, during launch that. But our intention is to keep the game up all the time and just try to. But that being said, like I said, we often want to plan well in advance because we have to QA it. It's not.
I mean, so far, like a lot of the hot fixes, they have been
I have this
seamless.
problem,
I
I'm
haven't
fix it
seen
tomorrow, and
any
you're
like issues
I would love to do that
arise
for you, but
from
we have to go through CERT, and we
that
have to
stuff going
QA
on
it,
in the
and we have to do all this
background.
work, and so we already have.
It's
a
been
big,
good. Their
real
updates
patch
have
coming.
not been super
And so
intrusive
that's
or
that's gone
something
through
that has caused a lot of
certification.
issues
It's out
so
there, it's gonna
far.
address a lot of things, including performance
Not
issues.
that they're well
and
received,
even
not
where
that all
it's
of them
so
are
big,
great. Stop disabling all of the damn barbarian, aspects. Maybe just tweak them a little bit. Just get rid of everything. That's, it is what it is. Stop. Everyone gets nerfed.
Actually talking about there's the potential we may actually choose to have a we're going to bring the whole game down, we're going to apply this big patch, and then we're going to bring it all back up. Like you have an artifact of said patch, do you not?
I do.
Am I ruining your agenda, by the way? Did I jump way ahead?
Slightly, but
Yes, absolutely.
Campfire,
Stick to the script.
Campfire chats. In fact, we have been working on a pretty large client patch. That's
Chonky patch.
It's very chonky. Chonky is the perfect way of describing it. That
Big
addresses
patch.
a lot of things, and
Big
this
patch.
right here is
It's
actually,
rough and tough.
It's 13 pages, but it's not even done yet. But it is just an early preview of kind of what we're putting together. I have it here.
I'm not surprised that that's your sentiment, Nemesis.
When the patch does actually hit, but we do have a lot of different topics we did want
They
to
will
talk about.
balance everything.
But
It'll all
this is-
start to
we're talking
wash
about
out,
actually
and they'll
reacting to
get
what's going on as opposed
numbers
to things
right.
we already knew we wanted to fix.
And the other thing I wanted to at least let other people know is we were in this initial launch window, so hotfixes were coming super quick, at a rapid pace. 'Cause we're trying to, when you have this many players hitting the game, a lot of things kind of crop up, and we were wanting to kind of get those
Very
hotfixes
accurate.
out. Same with the small client patches. I know a lot of people are going but it said like further bug fixes and stability. A lot of that stuff is on the back end to make sure things keep up with players, and we keep stability on the actual servers as players are playing over the weekend, and we have a lot of traffic and things like that. So
yeah, I think that's a good point. When we say something like further bug fixes and stability, that's not include. It's not like that bug fix includes like a change to Whirlwind or something.
Yeah.
It's like some bug with a name that is comprehensible to our engineers got fixed, right?
See, you need someone to talk to the people because the people can't talk to the engineers. So you need an interface person that talks to the engineers because he knows how to talk to the engineers, and he's a people person, so he can talk to the people as well as the engineers, because the engineers aren't people persons, so the engineers don't know how to talk to the people. It's not complicated. Gonna look at the machine gun ice shard ricochet built around T4. Oh. That's a lot of a lot of words. So you're on a leveling build working towards an in-game build, is that what you're saying? I mean, a lot of classes have that, where your in-game play is going to shift because certain aspects are opened up. But that's like way more niche than like I think this whole generalized conversation.
And so it ends up not being very useful to go into a lot of detail about those, but anytime there's something that's like, oh, we changed the barbarian, that we call that out.
Yeah, if there's like player-facing stuff, we'll most definitely end up calling
Yes.
that out. So
That's
in regards
needs to continue. If you're
some,
affecting stats,
at least how launch has gone and feedback
tell me
that we've
what
gotten from the
stats
community,
are
we've
changing.
heard a lot of different topics within the community itself. People just chatting with us or hitting us up on social media.
I think it's one of the interesting aspects is like I wanted to create this meme of like, we want a balanced game where there's no meta and every build is viable, and everybody's like, yay! And they're like, we've reduced the power of this class, and be like, what's going on? Table flip, and you're like, we have a philosophy
boo this
of, like,
man.
as part of balancing the game, whether that be the world or the classes, there will be pluses and minuses that have to be applied to the game, and the notion of, oh, look, I remember Destiny 2 had Loot Cave, and we're like, there's a Loot Cave. Let's just sit here and farm loot, and we're having so much fun. It's Christmas morning all day long.
So, like, I've heard this before several times over, and there's this whole, like, conversation about, like, stop nerfing everyone and just buff everyone else. Instead of nerfing the Whirlwind Barbarian, just make everyone else as strong as that. And, like, that's not how balancing works or should work in the game in general. Honestly, you want to have a playable experience that gives some challenge to the end user. If the challenge isn't there, then you take away a lot of the fun, excitement, and sense of accomplishment of actually doing stuff in the game. So realistically, like, yes, it would be great to feel God tier all the time, always, but you can really get a better game experience of, instead of buffing everyone to meet the strongest metas, nerfing the strongest metas to be closer to the mid-tier kind of builds. And ideally you would want every build in the game, no matter how you build it, no matter how you want to play, they're all like upper mid-tier, and it just depends on you learning the mechanics and how you activate your skills and how you play that class. Like, the best gaming experience across the board would be for everyone to be on that one strip that's not God tier, but kind of a slightly above average build level. That would be the best experience. But people tend to complain about, stop making them weak, make me strong like them. And I think that people don't understand, like, it would not be fun if everyone had S tier builds that were straight God mode, and then they roll into whatever dungeon or world boss, and everyone like hits their stuff and the boss is like 2-shot and then it's over. Like, where was the sense of accomplishment? Where was the struggle? Where was the joy? Why is this a fun and repeatable experience when all it is party walks in, hits one thing, game over, move to the next thing? Like, you want to have some struggle, some sort of like development with the player character. Strong like bull. I get it. You want it, and you want to be strong. Like, it wants to be accomplishable, but not so much so that like you're taking all the fun or struggle out of it.
Long, and like that can't persist. Like, for the good of the game, that has to not exist at some point, right? And so that's a problem that they fixed, and you understand eventually why they did that. I think there's some of that when again when we
I'm
have
with him on that one.
Like hours playing against the game, and we go across your intentions from a design perspective about how do you want players to be gaining XP and sort of growing their levels and kind of like what is their path for. It felt like what we started to see was that a player pattern that was non-ideal. It was like a player behavior like that you wanted to sort of that was being revealed through play, like that amount of play.
Yeah, so that's generally true. The way I would talk about it
Entirely
is
understand
that,
his question.
and we've talked about consistently throughout development that our goal is to have a lot of choice for players.
Right.
Both
Correct.
in terms of being able to choose,
And there is.
having
It's
lots
there.
of good choices for where you're going to level or acquire loot, and also in terms of your character having lots of choices, right? And so
I mean, I
sometimes
see it.
people will say like, well,
Like, there is no
anytime
set path.
something is too strong, can't you just buff everyone else?
Right.
And
No.
while in theory you can do that, when you have many classes and many builds, and you have one thing that is too strong, the process of buffing everything else, A, is likely to result in more balance issues because you're changing many things at once. And B, you can very quickly run into a place where you have 65,000% on Whirlwind or something,
Right.
and it can get sort of crazy.
You're always just chasing that power.
So yeah, I mean, sometimes we have to make changes. We have to nerf things sometimes.
Sure.
Yes.
But
It's-
our philosophy
It makes for a
is to
better game, I
prioritize
swear.
using-
I hate
to
that I'm getting
prioritize,
nerfed, but
improving
like, I
choice
understand it.
by looking at things that are not working and making them better. Now, it hasn't felt like that in the last 2 weeks.
Right.
Right. When I came here today, I was thinking about. I don't have a shirt like this, but I thought about like getting a shirt and then writing it's time for the buffs on it.
We can make you one.
I didn't
Joe.
do that, but it is.
So
It
if
is
we have a
time for the
buff shirt, it
buffs.
has to be Adam.
Yeah.
Is it time for the buff? We're getting buffs. We're changing direction. I don't believe it.
But seriously, I think we have.
If they give a buff out, it's going to be taken away in like
things we
weeks.
want to go over here.
We do.
That the community has called out through various
Get
formats,
called
through
out.
videos and posts.
Videos,
and-
posts on our forums, which we really appreciate. Anyone who posts on our forums, we are completely scouring our forums for feedback and so forth.
All right.
Posts on social media, on Reddit, conversations that people are having in videos.
Hate on me.
You have content creators that are
We're getting there.
like videos that are talking about specific topics. So
Wasn't
kind of
able to
compiled
make
a
it work
list
for
of,
me.
like, hot topics that I think
Yeah, I mean,
the
it's all about
community
matching
is
your
wanting
play
to
style to
hear
the
more
strongest
about.
skills
And we wanna
and
go
your
through those,
ability
and
to
actually talk about them a little
kind
bit
of
more in
meld
detail.
those
I think
together
probably
for
the,
a solid.
biggest one
There's
I
a
think
lot
that
that goes
people have been
into
talking
like
about the
choosing
most
the build
has
that
been
you
around
run for
dungeons.
things.
As you guys know, like we've had a few hot fixes, and by few I mean 4 in a row. Yes, totally understand. Of hot fixes where we do, where we had a line where we did mention that we were reducing like elite pack levels and so forth, or adjusting them specifically in certain dungeons, with the goal to be, you know, longer dungeons having more elite packs, and of course shorter ones having, you know, less than what a longer one would specifically have. But I would say like we've really gotten to kind of like a new baseline now of like where we are.
It seemed like it was a contrast thing. Like I think Joe can speak to, but like I think the expectation was, oh, nightmare dungeons are the end game. That's the place I'm going to go, you know, quote unquote farm. But right now, the normal dungeons, because the elite density is so high, it's better to farm a normal dungeon than it is a nightmare. And so
And that shouldn't be the case.
Slightly out of whack from that perspective. I don't know if that's a technical term, slightly out of whack, but.
I've seen it many times.
Should not be the standard or the case.
Yeah, we had some cases where among side dungeons, some side dungeons had dramatically more elites than other side dungeons, and so it really felt like if you're thinking about efficiency, it only made sense to farm those.
Right.
I mean, I get it. There's a lot of people that do this in the game. They like min-max efficiency and time. I don't do it myself. Play the game for the joy of the game. Do the dungeons that you're gonna do. Don't try to like min-max your like run through gear and everything else. But I get it. I understand why people do it, especially if you don't have, you know, several hours a day to play or whatever. You are more casual or time constricted. You want to maximize your efficiency, but yeah, that shouldn't necessarily be a thing. I think it should scale evenly across the board. Dungeons, you should expect, you know, so many elites per, call it linear foot of the dungeon or whatever, and it should scale up as you get into nightmares, and your chances of finding a mini boss like the Butcher, for example, should increase as you go into higher tiers of Nightmare. And that just makes sense to me. And I don't think that's exactly how it works right now, which is why there's a lot of people min-maxing, finding the highest elite mob density dungeons with the shortest time to completion in the game to min-max efficiency on getting gear.
But more broadly, I mean, you were talking about Nightmare.
Not my style, but I get it, 100%.
Nightmare dungeons have, first off, actually, you know, the significant majority of our players haven't finished the campaign yet. So there are lots of players that are still playing through the campaign.
Right.
But
did not know that.
Many of the people who are watching this stream, in fact, and our dedicated players, play through content much more quickly.
Right.
Accurate.
And
speed running. Not really speed running. It's kind of different.
So going to Nightmare Dungeons.
It's farming.
Nightmare Dungeons are explicitly set up to be highly replayable, right? Through the sigil affixes.
It's a little different than speed running.
That are available to the changes to monsters that occur inside them. And so we want them to be a great place to farm, including if you want to farm dungeons over and over. If you want to loop dungeons, Nightmare Dungeons are set up to be good at doing that.
That's the intention.
Yeah. So
like
we're going to do
speed running, your focus is time, whereas like efficiency farming is focused on
our goal with this
like drops per minute type situation.
Make Nightmare Dungeons more efficient to do than side dungeons.
Right.
Because they're designed to be more
yes.
And does that take into account, like Nightmare Dungeons have essentially a travel time to get to them?
Right. So this is a great point. So in order to, when you think about efficiency, if you think about XP per hour or XP per minute,
yeah,
and we actually have
you're talking about that. Your XP per hour, drops per hour, whatever you're looking for per hour versus I can complete this dungeon in 5 minutes. Speed running is like I can do this in 5 minutes or less. Efficiency is my drops per hour if I do X activity.
Teleport. So it actually varies depending on which Nightmare Dungeon you're going to. Right. And so that can also have the effect, if you're thinking about the efficiency aspect of it, of XP per hour or loot per hour, of sort of making it hard to justify choosing a nightmare dungeon that's far from a teleport point.
Sure.
So the second thing that we're going to do here is we're going to modify the way that sigils work so that they teleport you to nightmare dungeons. On your
Oh, that's nice.
So they teleport you, or do they create a place a waypoint to the dungeon?
They will create a waypoint that allows you to teleport. But yes, you'll be able to teleport to. That's an important distinction.
Right.
But the effect is that you'll be able to teleport to. Your
That
nightmare dungeon,
is,
and
I like that. I no longer have to find the closest waypoint and run to a nightmare dungeon. I pop a sigil, it drops a waypoint, temporary, whatever. I can teleport to that dungeon when I'm ready. So like if I'm in town and like we're wrapping up our, gear, whatever, we're fixing the gear from the last run. My buddy says, "Hey, I'm popping the sigil." It creates a teleport. He goes straight to the dungeon, and then I teleport to him, whatever. But it allows you to circumvent all the running to the dungeons to increase the efficiency of being able to like run nightmare dungeons, which is really nice, actually.
be able to loop from the end of a nightmare dungeon into your next nightmare dungeon. If you want to loop them again, you may have to leave the nightmare dungeon using an interface, but you'll be able to go from nightmare dungeon to nightmare dungeon without traveling between them.
Right.
And that
Like
allows us to have the XP, calculate the XP buff to make sure that those are the most efficient to do, because we're removing the travel time aspect of it.
Okay, so we're improving the rewards from Nightmare Dungeons to make them more what the intention was. That's the place you farm.
Yeah.
We're removing the need to have a travel time because a waypoint will appear and you and your party can go there, so it shortens it.
Right.
Like the waypoint one in particular sounds like a reasonably large change. So from a player perspective, what should expectations be about, hey, that sounds awesome, or at least for me, I'm responding, that sounds awesome. I don't know if they agree yet, but I think that sounds awesome. So what kind of
I think the
timing,
player
what range
base
of timing are you
agrees.
thinking?
It's awesome.
It is, Tiffany was just talking about like the kinds of things that we can do very quickly and easily. This
is not quick and easy. Not quick and
this
easy.
Is something
Got
that's
it.
really important to many of our most dedicated players, and so we're working very hard on this right now, actually, and yesterday as well, to get it in before season 1 launches.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so
Or
I know,
S1 launch.
Tiffany's
That's nice.
Tiffany and the live ops team I know have been working really tough on are working a lot to make sure that we can get specific updates before season 1 and scheduling those out and everything. So yeah, the Nightmare Dungeon changes that Joe was just talking about. The goal is to have that out before season 1, so players can actually experience it and use sigils to really teleport to Nightmare Dungeons and use that as a way of kind of incentivizing. And with Nightmare Dungeons XP being buffed, and it should be a new the way that players end up needing to want to kind of grind or farm specific things, they have the Nightmare Dungeon options.
So, and then for people who are maybe not following along all the time, right now season 1, we're saying mid to late July.
Mid to late July.
So we're saying that this change could happen anytime between, in the next 4 weeks or whatever.
Correct.
So that's what we're focused on. But again, I think that the waypoint teleportation, we have to get that right. Like there's a lot that goes on there. So there's a bunch of QA we have to do.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't like
Parties
crash
and
the whole system. Like make sure it's
We
right.
want to go as
That's the
quickly as
priority.
possible, but we also have to go as safely as possible. The last thing we
I
want to do
agree.
is rush something. So if you
It's not
people, I
fucker
use
the
phrase,
game to try to like
take the
put
Jello,
a
which
somewhat
is
cool
the
feature
notion
in.
Of like your Jello mold
I'm
is
on
trying to
board.
set, and if you keep poking it, it won't ever stabilize. It won't ever set. And that's kind of the thing we worry about here is that with all that, what are we at? Hotfix 9 we've put out so far.
We're actually at 11.
We are at 11.
Sorry, I missed one. And
You missed two,
and with
but
also our client patches,
no
like
one's
we're
counting.
constantly sort of poking, and
Except the rest of the
do
dev
that
team.
without proper QA and proper testing to make sure you're not shaking something out of alignment, because I think we've had that where we've maybe rushed a patch and that caused something else to slightly not go the way we want. So that's something we just we want to be as responsive as possible, but we also want to be as safe as possible. And make
What's
sure we're
that
not
called?
helping others.
Code rigidity?
I mean,
When
Shout
you
out to
add
Hotfix
something
11.
that makes it so that you can't add anything else,
We may have broken the previous
or it breaks everything
the teleport
else.
should take you to the dungeon and not under the world or
Yes.
in front of Lilith.
Major shout out to our QA team because we have put out, I think as you just said, 11 hotfixes and I want to say 8 or 9 client patches. So definitely kudos to them. Speaking of season 1, I am
mean, they're
looking
working
forward to it.
hard.
I'm a Necro player as well, I believe Rod is. So, you know, definitely looking through that chonky patch to make sure that my class gets buffed, as Joe said. But, you know, I've been collecting
Now, you
renown.
just promised. You realize what you just did?
Yes.
That
This is
you
why I
just
need to
promised
you know,
necro buffs.
well, now
Necro
Joe has to do
buffs.
it because I
I know.
said
Necros are
yes,
going to
he
be
did
the
that.
strongest ever.
I didn't tell him that, but now he knows. I'm looking forward to season 1. I am curious because I think a lot of the community is curious. You know, will I have to recollect all?
I think I
those,
kinda wanna do a
altars of
necro
Lilith? Do I get
as
to
my
carry
first
over
alt.
those primary stat bonuses that I'm earning? What about my map? Don't really want to have to rediscover it. So, Rob,
Yeah.
what's season 1 going to look like for me
Yes.
when I roll a rogue?
When you roll a rogue, well, I mean, one of the cool things you and I both experienced a lot with our necro play is the blighted corpse problem, right?
Yes.
Which is the, I think
I
Josh
know
calls
that's
them.
one of the cool things.
Well, no, it is a cool thing. I think Josh calls them corpse farts, but like he's like, I'm trying to get through
right.
this with corpse farts. It's not my favorite term, but anyway, like, but we know that the opaqueness of that effect is sometimes
I was
it
playing-
can be an explosion waiting for you underneath there, and you can die. because
It
you
is a
didn't see it.
bug, yes. That is one of the things
See how
we are
I'm
fixing.
I was playing with Chicken Machanga last night, and he's the necro that has that like cloud for all of the corpses. I could not see a damn thing, and being a melee fighter and all of those like bodies or whatever, and having everything balled up like that, like you're just kind of hoping you're not standing in debuffs and stuff. It's dangerous is what it is, because you cannot see the ground, you cannot see your character, you cannot see half of the enemies. Like, you can't see nothing. You are standing in a pitch black circle, which, yeah, that needs to be addressed. I think it's kind of cool-ish, but like, I need to be able to see what's going on the ground in that fight, because I'm melee. I can't sit back and just lob things into that circle. I am like stuck in there in the fight, and it's dangerous.
Just like judoed that question.
Yes,
back
totally
to
did.
her.
And I actually care a lot about this because I use Blighted Corpse on my Necro. That is included in one of our upcoming patches. It is a bug. I know
Please.
there was some discussion of like, is this intentional? It's not intentional.
Are
We
you
will be
sure?
fixing it and making it
Okay.
a little bit easier in general to be able to see which of the dangerous effects on the ground, making sure that's always readable to the player. So making sure
Yes.
our sort order is correct.
Please.
You know, if there's a fire enchanted, which is it's the affix that always gets me, that I can definitely see it, because right now with all the corpse farts on the ground,
See how easy it is to just say it.
now that is canon.
Now it is canon.
It's very difficult
Stupid
for me
corpse
to see a lot of the
farts.
affixes or some of the enemy or PvP.
It's there now. It
looking
is
forward to
the
those patches. But
actual
yes,
name
going
now.
Back to
Back to
season one.
renown. Yeah, I think the big
Corpse
thing that we've
farts.
seen, you
That's
know,
all there is to it.
one of the big questions, I think, especially new players, if you've played Diablo 3 before, you're familiar with the seasonal kind of reset. That idea of like, oh, it's a new season, there may be new balances, especially like in Diablo 3, they changed how sets work and all these sorts of things. There's an interesting like, oh, I want to go back and experience this, whatever new changes are in the
As
season,
long as they
or new
pick, like,
mechanics, and that's still
if I
true.
can't see my
In
character
Diablo
very
4,
well,
that idea that
fine.
there's that
I'd
sense
like to
of
be able to see the
progression,
enemies
back
through
to
that.
trying something new,
It's kind of
and
important.
experiencing the new
But
mechanics
seeing
in
the
world,
effects that are on the
when new place
ground
where
in that stuff, that's
otherwise
what
it becomes
really
this
needs to be
huge sort of
fixed.
power creep. But obviously, part of the feedback is people now are starting to complete the campaign and they're starting to look forward to season 1 coming mid to late July. They're wondering, like, wait, when we talk about resets, how do I think about the renown system in particular? And so one of the things, what will happen is that I think we started off in one place and we're kind of ending up in another place, which is kind of interesting. Is we started off from a hey, we want as much of that feeling of progression as possible. So rediscovering things isn't that bad because you're like, oh, I get to do this really cool. But I think we're starting to feel with alt characters that notion of, oh, the fog of war between characters doesn't feel great. And like the Lilith altars doesn't necessarily feel great. And so that's something we're going to do. And we'll be continuing to evaluate what should and shouldn't be reset as part of that. Much like once you complete the campaign on one character on your account, you can skip campaign for every character from there on.
The bounties were fun. I mean,
basically, I guess I won't promise expansions, but I believe expansions too. Not to lock stuff in too early. But that notion that you only have to complete, that's kind of the thinking we have. So right now for Renown, what we're talking about is as we go into season 1, when the amount of the fog of war that you've lifted on your map, the amount of the map that you've exposed going into the season in the Eternal Realm will be what you see in the season. So you don't have to go and reveal the map again.
Thank you.
The only capital city waypoints, I think, will be active, much like it is now. So, but you'll see them. They'll just be gray. So because there's so much renown you get for claiming one, we still want you to go claim that waypoint. And then there's also the Altars of Lilith,
which do the map.
Those will stay as well. You don't have to rediscover them every season.
Yes.
That's always been true, the notion around the benefits you get from a Altar of Lilith, like +2 intelligence or +2 dex, those stay with you forever, much like the renown system of the the extra potion charge or the extra obol capacity. Those stay with you too. You don't have to go get those skill points, go get those potions.
Amazing.
Those go with you. And what's kind of cool is that what we're talking about is we'll preload you that renown. So so if I could get, I'll make up a number, this is totally made up, 1,000 renown through Fog of War clearance, when I start up season 1, my map will be clear like it is in the Eternal Realm, and I'll already have 1,000 renown in my...
Right, your renown screen will still show, fog, there are this many areas of the map to be discovered. It will just give you credit for the ones that you already discovered, and that will translate into starting the season if you have been playing previously on a character with some amount of renown.
Right. Yeah. Got it. And
important.
Our intention, so those are the basic major you get credit for. Like we're gonna
Altars
and fog. So side quests, those are something that's still.
That is the thing that is most important about not having to redo. Altars and map are just grinding scut work. That's all there is to it. It's fun the first time, but I don't want to do it 10 times. I don't want to do it 20 times. Once I find the altars and once I find the map, I have the altars and map. That's all there's. I don't want to do that so many times. The other stuff, side quests, dungeons, all of that, sure, I'm going to do that just naturally playing the game. Those are parts of content. Those are things that I can enjoy that have stories and everything like that. The fact that I don't have to redo scut work and I get to redo, and like they're asking me to redo content stuff, that's awesome. I think waypoints could fall into that category of the altars and fog of war, but at the same time, if I get the waypoints instantly, that means like I don't have to ever travel anywhere, right? So like I guess I could see having to re-get the waypoints just so you can get those fast travel points. That's not a terrible thing. It does slow you down at the very beginning, but not nearly as bad as all the other stuff. So like I guess that's okay. Yeah.
Reset. But we're looking into the future. Maybe that's something else we could potentially.
Potentially. I mean, it's something that I think we'll continue to evaluate. Like, some things are fun to do every season, and some things are, after you do them a few times, you feel like, why do I have to do this again?
Correct. Some things after you do once you're done with it.
It's pretty clear on
like
on,
I've done
the map and
I've done all the altars. Well, no, I think I'm missing like 3 or 4 altars on my main, and I've done all of the map on my main. I don't want to do it on my hardcore character. I'm going to do it because like it's an easy way to get buffs and renowned and a bunch of other things that help like the long-term progression of the hardcore character. But like I don't want to do it a second time because I've done it on my main, but it has more benefits for my hardcore character, so I will do it. And I understand why those systems don't overlap, why my normal mode World Tier 2 normal mode stuff does not transfer to my hardcore character. I understand why that exists. That makes sense to me. But again, I don't want to redo it on the hardcore, but I'm going to for obvious reasons. The getting the renown, getting the buffs, getting everything from the altars and the fog of war just makes so much, especially like when you die, you get all of that renowned on your next character that gives you a better starting point that, you know, it's just, it's worth doing twice, I guess, if you want normal mode and a hardcore, or it's worth doing once, but it's not worth doing every normal mode character you have every season.
Altars of Lilith.
Yeah.
I think it's less clear on some of those other things.
I know one personal preference. I mean, when I skip campaign on a new character, I kind of use the side quest to kind of create my own campaign playthrough. Like it gives me a little more direction. So I actually, again, one person, but I actually like being able to play through the side stories again.
Yeah.
I mean,
again,
the quest
just
makes
to,
sense. Again,
like,
there's
re-clarify
story, there's
that
content,
altars
there's
of Lilith,
something
like,
there.
Obviously, players who, and how it works right now is if you collect an altar of Lilith, you get the stat bonuses or whatever bonuses that you have, and those carry over. But now with the additional changes, it will be showcased. The ones that you've actually visited already will now showcase on your map already. So it ends up at least covering off of that, of course. And then, as Rod mentioned, the Fog of War items will be kind of carried over, or not carried over, but removed from as you kind of create new characters. And in terms of timing, I guess for some of these, when were we like kind of looking for?
That's season 1, right? So it would be.
Yeah, we're looking to get that for season 1. You know, an interesting point here is that that change will also affect alts after it goes out.
I thought the point of season
So
1
also
was
for
just
season
to
1 was-
Nice.
always have
Well, I know.
like season 1 not really reset everything the way season 2 is supposed
Well,
to.
cookies.
What I want, yeah, I was gonna say, you want some ender cookies, you want some s'mores? Like, I think one of the things that I'm especially encountering too is like in the dungeon.
Like, is
when you're going
season
through
1
and
going to
doing
be a
dungeons,
reset like season
like,
2 is supposed to
probably
be?
At least one, the bottom row.
Because
of
it's only a
my-
month
my
into the
inventory
game,
tends to be
right?
The gems I've collected along the way.
Like,
and I know that
is
creates
that
some
worth it?
tension, you know, in terms of when to go back and those sorts of things. So I know there were like the quick answer is always like, I want a gem tab, or like, how do I put a different place to put
Yes,
those?
gems.
It sounds like we're doing something, we're thinking about it differently.
Yeah, we're looking at inventory tension, essentially, like things that fill up your. It's the
Inventory tension,
design.
listen.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's a design term. Anyway, it's basically
the hell does that
stuff that
mean?
clutters up your inventory.
Sure.
Okay.
And important, awesome stuff that we built and has all kinds of interesting gameplay, but has the effect of taking up lots of space.
Sure.
It's a problem.
It's not, yeah. Like gems.
Perfect segue.
I got there.
We got there. We got there.
Or sigils.
For example.
Sigils take up a
Random
lot of
ideas.
consumable space.
This is why it's a campfire chat. We're establishing the baseline expectations.
Oh, no,
for
okay.
campfire chat.
Yeah,
I think we should just go low.
Yeah, we can
While
only
we're
go
not
so
answering a
low.
question, and I still haven't got these cookies open, so I'm making noise
so-
while you're thinking.
When we think about gems,
Still didn't get it.
there are many colors of gems, there are many qualities of gems, and
Yes.
this can have the effect
Accurate.
of taking up lots of inventory space.
Correct. It's a
So,
problem.
What we're looking to do, and this is a longer, you know, we talked about fixes that have different time horizons. This is a longer term one. We're looking to get it in around season 2.
Oh, okay.
Season
The
2?
idea is to
Waiting that long?
change the way you acquire gems so that they are show up in your materials or currency tab rather than in inventory.
Oh, like we were
Oh,
like
that'd be-
crystals. So rather than it
Right.
even being a thing that you collect in an inventory, it's now just part of your materials.
Right, and then the way that will work is you go to the
That works.
you go to
I'm
craft
okay with
your
it.
gem in the same way that you do today, and you just use a certain amount of that material. So it's similar to the amount of equivalent like actual gem inventory slots that you're using now,
Right.
but as materials, and you can use that to craft the gem that goes into
It's kind of a win-win because it's saving you inventory space, but it's also saving you stash space. Because right now, I'm just like filling up my stash with gems.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
now if it's just
Yeah.
materials I'm carrying.
Stash
Those
full
are
of
like
gems. That's exactly
something
what
I've
I
been-
got going on.
There's been discussion around while we're on materials is that there's this notion of, oh, I didn't understand there was caps. Like, I am not as hardcore to have 10,000 veiled crystals, but I know some people out there are, and they're realizing like, oh, you can only carry 10,000, and there isn't a way to put veiled crystals into the stash or whatever to do. They're like, is there?
People
what is the
realize there's a
thinking
cap
around
at 10,000
caps? Sometimes it's like,
crystals?
oh, we're trying to force you to go do an action. We like much like the opals thing now. Like, oh, you go roll something because your more opals are falling. But I don't think that it doesn't feel like that's the same for veiled crystal. As an example, veiled crystal. Like, how do you think about caps and materials?
Yeah, the caps, the materials aren't. There's no particular reason to cap the veil crystals at 10,000. We're just gonna
Unknown reasons.
Yeah. So
Just-
we're upping the material caps for that, which you know we've seen a lot of players.
Like
especially
that's
players that
like I don't why even have a cap on materials in general? I mean, it doesn't grossly affect anything. Like you only need to use materials when you need materials, right? So like why cap them per se? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but okay.
Plus, as you're going through dungeons, you're obviously gonna naturally just pick up a lot of gear, and you're gonna salvage a lot of that as well. So you're gonna get to those specific caps that are currently in the game. So I know
Right.
a lot of those changes are going to be really beneficial to players who put in a decent amount of hours on those characters, or even if they're already at max level at 100 and they're still farming gear or looking for gear on those characters.
And the time horizon on the cap lifting of the caps?
I think we have that in.
That's actually
That's coming before
that's coming
season
before
one,
season
right?
one.
Yeah.
So that one we will be changing before season
That's
one.
right.
And it'll be incorporated in some and an update.
A future planned
A future
update
planned update.
before season
You
one.
love them. You just love rolling those out.
Hate.
Just like sweating. I know this has actually been an interesting conversation also that I did want to bring up is we've had a lot of people, especially like content creators and others that have kind of been a little confused on how things like resistances actually currently work within the game. I think there's a lot of people that are actually prioritizing other benefits on gear or stats right now over resistances because they're a little confused on how it works, or they feel that it may not be working at all.
I certainly do that with gems. Like I certainly would rather use my emerald for thorns than like whatever the reduction, like plus 14% resistance, whatever. Like I know my instincts are to go to the more tangible thing initially, and I guess sometimes it can be subtle that people don't pick up on the one-to-one. Like, hey, I know exactly how this is affecting my play. Like, is that?
Yeah, the resistance case is one where the system has a lot of different inputs, and there are some of those have multiplicative scaling, and we have sort of some things we want to accomplish with that system too. We want to encourage players to get more resistances as they go up higher in world tiers, which is why
Yes,
there's
resistances.
an effect on your resistances as you go up in world tiers.
Oh, that might be clear to some people. It was like that. So basically, as you move up in world tier, your current level of resistances will get sort of
Right.
and so that you have to kind of reacquire that resistance.
Yeah, and what we're seeing right now is that because of the way all of these, there's also an effect where your armor provides physical resistance and also provides half that amount of elemental resistances. And because all of these things are interacting in a complex way, it can be hard for
There's a
people
lot
to
of math
figure out exactly how
involved
they
in all
work.
of this stuff.
But regardless of that, the way
Just
that
the way
it is working in
everything's
practice
programmed,
is
like-
meaning that resistances are less valuable than we would like them to be.
Sure.
And because it's a fairly complex interaction, this is something that's going to take a little bit more time to sort of dial in the right solution for.
Right. But there's still
I mean, that all makes
valuable in the short term.
sense.
It's not like they're like not worth it at all.
Yeah,
Like,
what
it's
happens is as you get up into higher amounts of resistance and higher world tiers, you're seeing the value drop off more than we intend for
Got
it.
it.
And so that's where we're going to see some changes.
Right, and so because we need to go slow on that kind of a complex change, what are you thinking from a time horizon on that?
That's going to be something that we see around season 2.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's worth also managing expectations. The reason why you hear things like, hey, we found something, or we're hearing something, and we're talking already about season 2, which again, we're talking about quarterly seasons, so that's going to be in the fall. Like, why wouldn't you get into season 1? I don't understand. Well, we're like pretty much finishing up season 1 right now. In order to be able to put it through certification, the way that we do our release candidate testing, like we need to be ahead of the game. And the fact that we're only, let's say it's mid to late July and we're already sort of mid-June, so we're like 4 weeks away. It can take a couple weeks to get through cert and everything else. So you kind of have to be out in front of this.
I mean,
stuff.
it makes
So
a lot of
that's what I was
sense,
trying to say.
especially for big
Being one of the
things.
official dev streams and managing expectations. When we find something, we're like, it's not
Something that
a
affects the
hotfix-worthy thing or
values
something
of
that
how
can
the
be hotfixed.
entire
It's not
game
just like changing
interacts
a
with
variable on the
itself.
server. It's
That's
something
not
that is a
a
complex system that
3-week
requires
fix,
real
right?
work. It may come a little bit
I
later
think
than
that's
you're thinking
understandable.
because of the fact that we have to be so ahead of the game in developing this content for you. So that's why you're hearing stuff like season 2 means season 1 is pretty much done. I mean, it's done from a development perspective, and now it's in the QA and certification phase. So that's why we talk about season 2 as the next.
Again,
sort of
I
big
appreciate.
Yeah, and I know.
I appreciate it
a
so
lot of people
much
are going-
that I am not the QA team for the game. I appreciate the amount of QA that it seems Diablo has done without relying on the player base to tell them about issues. It's like a big deal, right?
I'm seeing chat now going like, why not season 1? Why not season 1? And it's the perfect explanation for it, because in the end of the day, you have to button something up to get it ready for people to actually play it, and we obviously have to do a lot of testing for it, certification and so forth. So just a reminder for everyone, like, development is a process. It's
an iterative process.
An iterative process for sure.
That's also a good point. When we think about seasons, one of the things that we think is most important is delivering new content.
Right.
Because that is new stuff for everyone. Like, if we want to make sure that every season is delivering new content, and then on top of that, bring in important fixes, bring in some quality of life improvements. And so, I know that I've seen some lists, like people have helpfully made like some lists, like here are a bunch of quality of life fixes that we would like, or that would help me, as a player. So I think what you'll see is that over time, as seasons roll out, you're going to see those. Like we've been talking about with season 1 and season 2, you're going to continue to see those things. You're not going to see a season that's like, sorry, we didn't
Bare
make any
bones,
content, but here's a bunch of fixes.
Yeah, and
because we think the content is really important.
Yeah, that's the big
it's a
thing.
little
Like,
important.
Diablo
That's the
4
replayability,
just
right?
launched. And we have a lot of stuff planned for the game.
Yeah, and I've had some comments on Twitter where people are like, well, D3 has this thing and D4 doesn't have this thing. And I'm like, well, D3 has been out there for 10 years, iterating and improving, and like D4 has been out there for 10 days. And
Yeah,
so, like, that
Nemesis
doesn't mean it's not going to
out
show
here
up
saying
in
how great all these
iteration
things in
and evolution.
D3 are.
Aren't going to continue.
Look,
Like, we're
it'll
going
get
to
there,
evolve the
man.
game, as
Diablo
fast as we
Immortal
can and
just
as quickly as we
announced
can.
fighting stances. Fighting stances seem really cool. You have an offensive stance and a defensive stance. That's brand new. That's in Diablo Immortal. That should be in D4, right? It takes time. It takes time. Everything will take time, and like I completely agree with the sentiment and what they are saying in this whole kind of like undertone is the fact that like content is going to be the priority for seasons. You're not going to have a season where it's just a fix or an update. That's important. And they're also kind of hinting at the fact that they're letting these almost like majority opinion type crowdsourcing ideas of like the players are saying, I really would like this in my UI, right? Or my inventory should have this. They're almost like crowdsourcing some of these like ideas on how to like slightly improve the game and quality of life over time. That makes a lot of sense to me too. There's a lot of games out there that also don't just like listen to their player base at all. And it becomes a massive problem or point of contention where like you're ignoring your player base and you're not getting any of that. It seems like they want to do quality of life improvements based off of the crowdsourcing or public opinion that people are putting in forums and stuff, which is
seasons and hot fixes and patches.
exactly how it should
Expansion.
work.
So,
Chef's kiss, right?
Just because there's something not there today doesn't mean there's no intention to put it there in the future.
Yeah, we definitely evaluate the level of effort and the amount of risk for all of the changes, and that's kind of how we determine, is this
Risk
hot
reward
fixable, like,
cycle.
is this
It's
something that
important to
needs
go
be
through.
fixed and addressed on the
It's a
live
thing.
environment right now? Is it something that would be better to wait until our next planned release vehicle, whether that's season 1 or season 2, throwing out some production terms there. And we want to just, like Joe was saying, it's super important that we deliver quality seasons with tons of great content to our players. So
Content is king.
It's also super important that we don't rush something out and break the game where it becomes not playable, not
Accurate.
viable, or not
If-
so fun anymore. So
You can't fix the game so fast that it makes the game worse to play than the game was to play at launch. Like, launch is the new standard. They cannot put fixes in the game that make the game harder to play than it was at launch. And launch was really good, so you have to maintain that now. So quality control and all of that going into the future with all their fixes going to be super important because you have to maintain that level of playability as you fix other things in the game.
So definitely taking all the feedback. We have a very, very long list of things that we want to get to. And like Rod was saying, you know, I worked on D3 for many years and we improved it over time. And I'm actually looking forward to the point where we can start putting in a lot of those improvements that people are asking for to get it to a super, super polished game that makes everybody happy.
It's fairly polished as it is now. Like, it
I know
has a lot
one
going
thing
for
that,
it right
is
now.
kind of a hot topic within the community because a lot of players are playing hardcore, and
Oh God.
some whether it could be a disconnect or a player
Disconnect
might design,
deaths.
you know,
Oh.
randomly on
Oh,
their
it
own
hurts
accord,
so bad.
Or you know, maybe they have a service issue or something from their side. I know that there's like a lot of questions related to disconnection, death protection, and so forth. I know it's a thing that we've been looking at. We've been looking at everyone's clips, even the painful ones where we're like, oh no, that's awful and so forth. But
It's very
I
awful.
know we've been
It's
looking
like,
at
it
some work
hurts.
on that from that end.
Hardcore
so
deaths
there are
hurt.
A few cases here. There
Very
are,
sad.
We've seen some cases where a hardcore hero died during teleport, which is a bug. We've seen potentially some bugs with situations where you should be immune, but you might have died. We're investigating both of those cases, and once we have identified the root cause, we'll tackle fixes for that. You also mentioned.
I think the easiest fix for that one, and it's a temporary fix more than a long-term fix, but a death appeal for your Hall of Hero characters in hardcore. Now, you would have to say, like, disconnect, teleport. I think it's a bug. I think it's a glitch. But, like, a death appeal for hardcore characters, I think would be really nice. Hence why I'm waiting to get home to start my hardcore. Don't want DC deaths. And you have to really like. No, that's a point. That's accurate. No, it's a problem.
Cases where the player disconnects, right? These can be some of the most frustrating situations for a hardcore player because in many cases it is completely outside of your control. It could be
a death outside your
issue
control,
with,
just
devastating. Anywhere between you and the server, right?
Yeah.
So
I fat finger
so those
stuff
can
all
be
the time.
especially
That's where
frustrating.
my deaths come from, and
we have
that hurts.
already
But
a mechanism in the game that allows players to escape from boss fights that has very strict controls on it in terms of being a consumable item that's a fairly rare drop, which is called the Scroll of Escape. This is a hardcore only item. It's a consumable scroll. You can use it at any time and teleport to safety. You can bind it to your mouse wheel. It's important to bind it to the...
It's very important to bind it. I do recommend binding it so that you don't run into an issue where you might potentially use like an emote
instead of your.
Instead of.
I mean, you go out with style. I mean, like
Yes.
you know, you're going out emoting while you're being killed.
So we have this mechanism
go out in
already
style.
to allow players to try out something that's extremely difficult in hardcore. And that allows us to have things in hardcore that are very challenging.
Right.
Because without something like this, as a hardcore hero who's invested, hundreds of hours,
Just grind it
why
out.
would I go and do something where I might die?
Yeah.
Just straight grind.
There's certainly lots of risk there, and it's very exciting.
Right.
But I mean, I could just get a little stronger first.
Slow grind. Slow
So
grind it all.
I think that this scroll allows for even more exciting moments.
Scroll of nope. You're like nope.
And this is the place where, because it has these controls in terms of being consumable and being a rare drop,
Right.
this is the place where we want to add disconnect protection.
Yes.
So basically, the way that this will work is, if you get disconnected, and this is essentially for any reason, and
So
and
like
I
even
want
if you're like your cat pulls the Wi-Fi router out of the
yes.
wall.
Now I want to clarify that
because the dog would never do it.
it's not
That's true. Only cats.
the disconnect case is a very complex situation in terms of determining what's happening.
Sure.
So it's
Right.
not perfect situation.
Okay. Lightning
I'm not
strike on
going
the
to
telephone
guarantee
pole may not trigger. the escape.
100%. But what should happen is that when
In
we detect that
theory.
you disconnect, if you have one of these scrolls of escape in your inventory, it will trigger, even though you weren't there to trigger it. It will consume the scroll.
Still.
You can't just do this as much as you want.
Right.
And it will teleport you to safety.
Right.
So when you log back in after the lightning has subsided, you should
That's
be
still kind of.
Just have scrolls because they are a limited resource. Like obviously, like
Yeah, it's a limited resource,
Exactly.
but the disconnection is not a limited problem.
We were talking about the
Like,
the sigil change is that one of the
that kind of
concerns-
sucks. Because if you really think about it, like I can't control when I disconnect, and I can't control when I get a scroll drop. And you don't want to be carrying around all of your scroll drops with you at the same time, because if you die, you lose them all. So you're not going to be carrying around all of them. You're probably going to carry around one if you're lucky enough to have more than one. And like, then on top of that, like, you disconnect and you lose a very valuable resource that you would use for a fight. And like, it could happen at a random, non-dangerous, oh, I just picked up an Altar of Lilith in a spot that doesn't actually have mobs right next to it. And now, fuck, I used the only scroll I had. That's give and take. I could understand wanting to put a control mechanism on it so that like it doesn't get abused, or like some people try to sidestep the disconnect protection, but like I don't know how I feel about that one. That one is interesting. I get it, and I think it might be the best way, but again, I think another easy way to do it would be a death appeal option. And like obviously it could take, 24 to 48 hours to death appeal, and like someone might have to look at what happened in some code or something, but like I think that would be a viable way to do this too, aside from the scroll. And it might not be like a death appeal, might not be like instant gratification that like, oh, I died and I can go back in like right now. Right? But it is something that allows you to save progress, go work on either an alt hardcore or go work on like a main like normal mode until like you get the appeal notification back. It's just options. It could go either way really, but like the scroll thing does kind of suck because like you could accidentally use one of your scrolls at a time when you didn't need it, just to protect you from disconnects at a time where it is very needed. And like I don't control disconnects and I don't control how many scrolls I get, so it's kind of, I don't know, I have mixed feelings on it. But I am gonna take a really quick break, guys. I will be right back. Burp. It's on my box. What is it, Gacy? What's his first name?
I'll go check the part of the book. I'll go back. I'm in the car, don't worry.
Everything's going, oh god. No, god damn it. God damn it.
Oh, apparently you've got to say goodbye when we've used the Luigi board. I didn't know that. Oh.
Corden killed me? Is that a Molotov? Oh yeah. I probably have so many Molotov cocktails right now just because I never use them. I need to remember to use them because they're super useful. But again, I do everything the hardest way possible. Brute force and ignorance. That's how I'm getting through all of this.
Oh my god, chat, isn't this tractor just like the cutest thing you ever saw? It's like the tiniest little cute tractor. It's totes adorable. Oh my god. Totes adorable.
Have you ever watched a game in which Geg wasn't naked, alone, and starving, and lost? I mean, I'm not lost. I know where my house is, right? Where's my house? It's that way. Or is it that way? No, it's that way. I'm not lost. Right. Oh, someone in the middle of town yelling, "Yeah, I'm on the board right now."
Yeah,
that's
exactly. Yeah, and well, and then they'll complain when someone ropes them up and goes to fucking bring them in. Like, you know, it's like, no, dude.
To a small point, you were kind of asking for it now, weren't you?
Yeah, exactly. You know, like you're standing in the middle of town going, "Hey, everyone, I'm a wanted criminal. I'm on the bounty board," and then you get roped up, and then you start complaining that the situation.
Not exactly a Billy the Kid in mind there.
Yeah, no, more like a Silly the Kid.
Ah, you got him. Well, Mr.
You ain't no fucking badass.
I mean, I'm relatively badass. I'm like badass on a budget, you know? Like when you want the really, really good action hero, but you can't afford him, you call me. And you know, I'll probably get the job done. I might do some cool things while doing it, but you know, I'm not the flashiest guy. No, he can't see me, right? He definitely sees me. He 100% sees me. Am I outside? Oh God. Right there. All right. Let's get back into it. Yeah. What's their next point? What are they gonna make me happy about or sad about
We
next?
didn't put the right rules around it. Is that if a sigil automatically teleported me somewhere, I could use that to escape hard content. You know? And so we always have to. That's part of it. It's not everything is intuitively like, oh, I instantly get it. Go do that. You have to go like, wait, there's a bunch of edge cases and things that this can be abused, and we have to manage that too. So,
Well, I think that's easy with the sigil teleport point not like being like instant. So like activating a sigil shouldn't take me to the dungeon. It should give me a option on the map to teleport to the dungeon. And that would be much harder to abuse in the case of like hardcore and everything like that. Oh, I'm on the wrong scene. Ah, scuffed. The scuffery. My bad.
okay, that sounds good. So I'm Mr. What's the?
But you guys
time?
heard what they were saying.
That's
And what
my
I said.
goal
So.
now on this. Campfire chat is Rod. Like, when are you getting that done?
I think this is a selfish
That
question.
is also a season 2 time frame for the disconnect protection.
Yeah.
Some of the bugs that I mentioned earlier in terms of cases where immunity, there could be a problem with immunity, or a teleport, a death during loading screen or something. Those are things that we're investigating right now.
It could be hotfix, but
it could be sooner than that.
Yeah, those could be sooner, and then
Where's
the,
Blue?
the
I don't know.
Scroll of escape with disconnection protection.
I don't know. I don't control my mods. I don't set their schedules.
I got a few more.
Enjoying their day.
I want to make sure we hit on all these topics. This is obviously really important for the community, and I know that they want to hear about them and so forth. But
why are my caches higher level than me?
Yes, that is a very popular one. Why are my caches higher level than me? I can't open my cache. I killed the world
What's in the
boss,
cache?
but I can't open the cache.
What's in the cache, Joe?
This is a bug.
This is a bug.
So in a before season 1, in an upcoming fix.
That's fair.
Patch.
Yes, that's right.
In the plan patch?
Plan patch.
You will be able to
in
open
the 13 pager. Is that what?
in a planned patch. You
In
will be
a
able
planned
to
patch.
open caches from world bosses. Now, the gear that's in those caches may still be higher level,
At least
but
you can
there's
sell it. Or
and there's a variety of things you can salvage.
I think some of that problem comes from power leveling, because I've seen people in world bosses that are really low level for the world boss, and they're doing the power leveling thing where they have a friend that's dragging them through content that is above their level. And I think like you're really kind of like destroying part of the experience of playing. You're sacrificing like your early and mid game for your end game content type situation. I'm not going to belittle people that do it because I understand why it exists. It's fine. You want to play with your friends and you're going to do whatever's most efficient for you to do that. But at the same time, I'm not necessarily upset that if the world boss is minimum level 30, I can't remember off the top of my head, but if the world boss is minimum level 30 and you're a level 15 sitting at a world boss, and then the cache drops and it's level 30 and you can't open it because you're level 15, it kind of makes sense to me, right? Like if you're getting carried through content that your level is not ready for yet, then that is probably where problems like this come from. It's up to the individual player. Like if that's the game style they want, then like by all means play it that way. It just doesn't make sense to me because I want to enjoy the game. I'm not all about the end game and getting the perfect loot right now. I want to enjoy the process of getting there. And that's just a very personal opinion.
Some of the stuff in the caches isn't gear. You'll be able to use that immediately.
But at least you can open it and see what's inside. And it gives you something to work toward. You're like, oh, this thing that's amazing is 3 levels higher than me. I'm going to go get up to that level and use that gear, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
I know, so scaling is a huge topic. I'm just diving right in.
Is it maybe too huge? Is that where you're going? What are we doing?
Well,
I like the
scaling is a
way
big
scaling
topic. I
works
think,
in the game right now.
Players have talked a lot about like, hey, the world scaling with you, and the sense of power that you have. I think one thing that we actually talked about earlier, I think addresses some of the scaling questions we have, which was like nightmare dungeons are that way of also feeling more powerful as you're kind of progressing through them, because you can obviously go into higher level nightmare dungeons, and you'll be able to slowly but surely, get your way through higher and higher level versions of that. The other thing, though, I think, and I've seen this a lot personally myself, where people have been going like, hey, I might be like a level.
Not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Level 18.
I mean, that's a pretty common phrase. I've used that phrase before.
Attachment to item level, or to the actual level required.
Focus on the wrong number.
Yeah, as opposed
and
to
I love that
item
mentality.
Power. And I think there, it's a topic I wanted to bring up just because item power is actually really the number that people should be really focusing on, as opposed to specifically item level, because there are points where you will actually potentially find a higher item level requirement with a lower item power itself. And that's one thing I think that will help with people when they're focusing on trying to become more powerful, is really going for item power, focusing on that specific number in itself.
Right, there's a lot of nuance in your builds and how everything scales out. So like learning a lot of those mechanics helps a lot with your development as a character.
Slightly lower level item, because it gives that lower level character a bit of a bump and those sorts of things.
Yeah, the item. The required level for an item does loosely correlate with the power of the item in most cases, but there are many situations where that is not accurate.
Right.
And so it's better to look, as Adam was saying, at the item power of an item.
I mean, Adam brought up Druid. So one of the things I know I hear quite a bit about is there's a thing where you get into uniques and discussions that like barb uniques are falling for druids, and what's the issue there?
Yeah, there are a couple bugs where certain barb uniques can drop for druids that we're fixing, and that's going to come in before.
Very sad.
Where are you going here?
I know. You know what I was going to say. So when's that happening, Joe?
It's going to come in before season 1.
Okay.
In a planned patch.
So within the next 4 weeks.
Planned patch.
But when I'm playing a class, Joe, can I expect to occasionally see uniques or legendaries drop for other classes?
Yeah, you will. That's a really good point. It's this.
So like, it's not something that
you will never ever see anything for another class.
Right.
It's that there are some specific barb uniques that were meant to drop only for barb, but due to a bug are also dropping for druid, and we're correct.
Okay. Got it. That makes more sense. I get what they're saying now.
And I know we just mentioned this, but in a future update, don't hate me, Ted. A future hotfix we'll say for right now. A future hotfix is when we plan on.
Yeah, you're right.
Do we have to dev-splain it again?
Social features, looking for group, looking like type of features has been a topic. Some people who may not be in like a clan or something like that, or choose not to actually join a clan.
I mean, yeah, if you just want to feed me gear, is what they're saying, Nemesis.
Usually logged off during a specific time. Trying to find other people to maybe like join in with you during dungeons and stuff like that can be a little bit of a challenge. We've been hearing a lot of feedback on that. I know that the team obviously is looking into future social features for the game itself. We just need more iteration time, more time to actually think about how we want that to actually be available, how accessible it should be, and so forth for players to be able to jump into some dungeons with maybe randos or something like that if they want to, if they're looking for it. I know it's a topic that a lot of people have been talking about, but we are looking into it in terms of
Random Dungeon Finder. It's always interesting. I think it can do a lot of good for the community. I think there's solo players out there that don't have friends yet that could find good groups that way. It's always kind of an interesting concept that I think most people, it's definitely more of like a casual player type thing, because I think there's a lot more people that end up doing like looking for group forums for stuff like that than they do in-game random dungeon finders, but I could see the value add of having random dungeon finders in-game for people to find a group to do specific content. I think that makes sense to look into it. And like worst case scenario, if they put it in there and no one uses it, no one uses it. Best case scenario, it helps out a group of players have a more enjoyable experience in the world.
Of items.
I think crossplay adds complexity too. Like that's why, again, it's one of those things where you want to make the right choices and take the time to do it right. And it did feel like as a social features, it felt like it's one of those great places to evolve and iterate into. So I think that's a large bucket of features that I could see as we continue to improve quality of life over all the seasons. I could see like social features are just going to get better and better and better over time.
Yep. And
with any luck,
the
yes,
other
hopefully.
big thing I know that some PC players have experienced have been a little bit of some like performance and like stability items. It's a team that we have like this graphics engineering team that has been like hardcore, like slamming into the problem itself and trying to figure out
That's some
exactly,
stability issues.
all the different cases and all the different scenarios.
A couple, nothing
we
major.
actually do have some fixes and some items that we're addressing here and some upcoming client patches that will be hitting players. So it should help out with a lot of those specific scenarios or those instances that players are actually running into. And again, if you guys actually have any of those issues on your end, feel free to post those in our forums. We scour those, all throughout the day.
Report
It's customer
bugs,
service,
help the
it's
team.
QA, it's community.
Always.
And we're actually providing all this information over to those teams. Giving as much information as possible is huge, as opposed
Worst
to like,
case, they
hey,
ignore
my
your
computer's
information.
not
Best case, they
performing very
add
well
it to
on
a pile to
Diablo
help
4.
fix
You can give
stuff.
us, extra information, computer specs, etc., where it may have occurred, and details and so forth.
Like
It
a
helps
DX
us a lot.
diag on the forums is really helpful.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, sometimes there's expectations around how much memory do I actually need, how much VRAM do I actually need, and sometimes like actually because of the way we do seamless server transitions, sometimes
Doug, how are you now? Hope you're having a good one. You're
see what you call rubber banding.
so
Could actually
late.
be just a slight delay. In
You
the server
missed
transition.
an entire conversation about kick.com and
handoff between servers. So
about an hour of
there's
this.
no one blanket.
But you're not late. No, of course not. Never.
We run on very low end, which I'd be
As-
able to go all the way down.
As I've said in the past, you're never late. You get here right when you're meant to get here, and you stay as long as you can. And that's what's important to me. Thanks for stopping in, Doug. We've missed you. I talked so much trash about you because I don't know how your bots work, and it took me... I was staring at the updates in Discord to see if your bot would do the thing that it's supposed to do, and it did end up doing it about 10 minutes after the hour, so it worked. Okay, I'm really late, but my excuse is I don't have one. I accept that, Doug. I accept your excuse, and it's completely acceptable and noteworthy, and we're okay with it.
Down to Gen 8 to going to very high, and each one of them have their own different sets of requirements, and we know that by setting your settings correctly can help you a lot too, like playing with like what is this texture level, does it help or hurt?
And it's also okay because this is going to be on YouTube VODs, and YouTube VODs do more good for me than Twitch VODs do. So you can always watch whatever you missed later and still help me out and see what I talked about.
There are some issues with specific cases, and the more information we get about them, the more likely we are to be able to address them.
Yep, most definitely. I know, so yeah, there's a ton of different bug fixes and so forth that are still coming down the line, and we plan on addressing all of those. Again, continue using our forums to actually give us that info. I know we do want to take some questions from chat.
The dev team here really does sound, feel, and look like they're putting a lot of emphasis on listening to the community and modifying, updating, and moving the game forward in accordance with what they're hearing from the community, which I absolutely love, and I think it's going to add a lot of long-term success to the game as it continues to progress and grow with the community around it. I love hearing about the way they talk about it because it feels like that's exactly how they're negotiating the game and working it.
And so forth from Twitch chat. I will do my best to actually announce names. I will announce the names so people know that they can go back into chat and see the names and not go like, oh my gosh,
You made up those names.
made up these names.
Those aren't
and
real
so
names.
forth. And I will note that was not our interview. So that like we did not come up with that question.
Pretty good.
But yeah, I do.
We're not making up random questions. We promise.
As we're kind of like.
Oh, more the cookies again.
Well, you know,
Disappointed with the cookie? Oh my god.
No, he eats Outback.
So you're saying you wouldn't want another one?
Outback is so good.
Outback's
Kevin, I have this
delicious.
thing about Outback Steakhouse. It's fantastic.
He needs to read the questions.
Oh, no. Talking trash on Outback, I am sorry, but the roll with that cinnamon butter, the cinnamon sugar butter thing that they have for the rolls at Outback Steakhouse is so amazing. Like, that alone makes Outback awesome. Oh, no. I'm thinking of Texas Roadhouse. You know what? Outback is kind of mid. No, I'm wrong. Outback's meh. Like, it's a decent enough steak for like a big chain type situation. And a lot of people like the bloomin' onion, which, I mean, I'm not a huge onion ring fan in general, so like, yeah. You know what? I support this. Outback is mid. Go to Texas Roadhouse. It's way better. I've ruined everything and I got it all wrong. I went to the wrong place. I just like got so heated so quick, but like, no, that guy's correct.
I need to read the questions. I do plan on going through at least some of the questions.
She's right. He's wrong. Outback's mid. Go to Texas Roadhouse.
Huge shout out to the community team. They're in the chat and they're actually going through and polling questions so that I can see them because chat is moving very fast. Let's see. In terms of, let's see.
You didn't start with the name.
Oh yeah, I need to start with the name. I'm sorry. This is a party play question, and it's from, oh gosh, I have to pronounce the names.
Oh no.
Necrologics says.
That's not so hard.
You made fun of this all the time on Twitch, and not as much on YouTube, but Twitch names and YouTube names, they're not super intuitive to like work out what the name is or what they're saying. I feel for this guy because he set himself up for failure by committing to promising to call out all the names. It's going to be a problem.
Well, I'm hoping it sounds.
Why are you like sounding it out like a 4-year-old? The Necrologics. Why is that so hard?
I mean, it's like logics or something.
Logics.
Can we teleport to people without going to town first? Is that can be an option?
Oh, that would be nice.
So we're carefully looking at the teleporting. We want it to be easy to meet up with friends. The waypoint in town is our normal way to.
I mean, it'd be nice, but at the same time, like,
I've had to explain it to
town to Purple
It's actually,
Port
once you
isn't
know what it is,
terribly
like, again,
difficult.
You know, you're saying like, can I optimize it? But if you don't know about it, like it's really cool that when you join your friend's game, I'm giving Joe Tumby s'mores. When you join your friend's game, you might be in a separate place of the map than they are. If you go to the capital city or any of the capital cities, they will have a portal to them waiting to the side.
Correct.
So you were like, oh, I want to join your game. Oh, where are you? Oh, I'm somewhere over here. Just hit down in your D-pad. Then you're next to a portal that has their name on it. You click on it, and now, or press A, and then you're with them.
He's using
And so
controllers,
it's
but
always
like,
been great at playing with
T,
parties where you just
go to
like,
town. Once
hey,
you're in
just
town,
press down
Purple
your
Port.
D-pad, jump in the portal, and you're with us. And so I guess
Yeah.
that might not. It's not like a direct, but it. No, it's like it's a layover. It's
Just right-click on them?
Stop on your way to where you're going.
I mean, look, it's one of those, it's nice, but it's not necessary, I guess.
Are you thinking about
is how I see it. Nemesis, like,
It's something we'll keep an eye
it
on.
would be nice, but at the same time, like, I don't think I need it.
But
It's a quality of life.
if
It's a
Sydney
smaller
isn't
one.
there, This is a game where we are continuing to support it and provide things for years to come. Sure. And that will mean that the game evolves over that time as well.
Yep.
We have a question from Old Greg's Place. See, that's an easy name.
That was a good one.
Yeah. There's an underscore.
Old
after,
Greg's
right?
place.
Yeah, I don't want to go like.
Oh, you talking to old Greg?
Are you guys planning to buff any kind of resource generation, be it from passive or
So we have a variety of buffs coming in a future patch to many things across many classes.
Look, mid to low level
I'm just saying you alluded to
barbarians.
We're not being specific.
Rage is a problem.
I mean,
That's true.
It's always a
It's in the top
problem.
secret document that Adam has.
a lot of this.
Okay.
I mean, it's convenient, but it's no more convenient than T to town purple port. It's one teleport instead of two is the difference, but
should keep an eye out.
I see what you're saying.
That address that. I want to be careful here though, because resource generation is one of those stats that can very quickly invalidate resource use entirely.
Okay. Yeah.
It's very
Yes.
easy for to end up in a situation where you have
I mean,
generation that
it is a cornerstone mechanic, resource generation. So
in certain situations, like it can be fun to have situations where you feel like you're breaking the game. If it's generally true for everyone, the game ends up being less interesting because you have fewer interesting choices.
Yeah, there's no trade-offs.
yep, back to there has to be
There's a lot
some
of
challenge,
people still mentioning
design, or
in chat. And I do wanna
excitement
just,
about being
clarify
able to
them
complete
because, like,
something.
obviously, we've made tweaks and so forth, and we talked about this earlier, but we made tweaks in terms of like elite mob packs and dungeons and so forth. But we now have established a baseline, and that from that baseline, like we move up. It's not a this like we're gonna continue going down or something like that. So
Joe and I had this conversation recently. Just like it's a combination, and correct me if I get this wrong, but it's not just about like, as we think about Nightmare Dungeons and rewards, it's not always going to be like, this one monster is now worth 1 million experience points. There may be times where you want that to be 5 monsters that are worth 200,000 experience points. Like density is a factor of XP per minute, and as well as the actual value of the individual monsters, and so that'll be something that you all are tweaking knobs on. Yeah.
It's something we're continuing to look at. To clarify, the changes to XP that you'll see before Season 1 will increase the XP that you're getting per monster, per elite monster in Nightmare Dungeons.
Right.
It won't increase the total number of monsters in Nightmare Dungeons, also called the density. But that is something that, as a result of the changes that we had to establish a baseline, we do have the ability to tune in the future.
Right.
are you guys planning to continue quarterly update style?
Name? Who's asking?
Oh, sorry. Nupu Games. Are you planning to continue to
YouTube Games.
The quarterly update style for upcoming expansions and systems or such? I personally love the updates. That's something to look forward to for every quarter since BlizzCon 2019. We will still be having a lot of developer update live streams. And those, like for instance, our next one will be about Season 1 when you guys do actually
give or take.
So I'll speak as one person. I kind of like, not necessarily, well, Campfire Chat aside, I kind of like the more active stream to a 9-page blog personally. And so having streams where we can show cool features and talk about them. And
the stream's really cool for me. I like the reaction. Like, I can watch it, do a watch party, things like that. Streams are really cool. But there are a lot of, and this is the content brain coming out, but there are a lot of creators that want to deep dive, look at the text, read the file and the blog, 9-page, whatever, pull out the information and deliver it as quickly as possible. So if they continue to do the streams, I'd be extremely happy with it. But also there's a lot of people that would want to know the 9-page release like a day or two early so that they can thumb through it, make their own impression, get their own thing out. And like, some people just like to read the blog. It's some people's like deep dive and they love to do it. So doing both of them is probably always the best answer, but like the live streaming is always a good idea too.
Interact a little bit more versus go read this novel. Like, I like them. I love what we did. I love the transparency because we couldn't necessarily do streams before. But if I had to choose between an 8-page blog and a 45-minute stream, I would choose this stream. But
And not everyone would make that
I mean,
choice.
we still will have blogs around like seasons and announcements and so forth. That's still a thing. So expect to see more live streams, of course, and more campfire chats and everything related to that. Will we get the expanded option to change our character's appearance within the game? Oh, God. Guts Claymore asked this question. Thank you, Guts. Will we get more options to change our character's appearance within the game? Don't want to make a new character just to change my character's face, hairstyle, etc.
So there are some options for re-customizing your character through the wardrobe.
That's
you can't
not what
change
they're talking
everything
about,
about
though.
the character there. That's something that will continue to.
Maybe I want to change my
look at,
makeup.
Ways that we can improve over time. You can also.
Maybe I
expect to
want new
see,
tattoos. Oh, Blul!
new,
How are you now?
options for markings and jewelry and.
Hope you're having a good
things
one.
Like that, and obviously armor and things.
Yeah, in the shorter term, there'll probably be more. When you do a character create, there'll be more options. Like as we go through, but
yeah.
The notion of actually like once you've rolled your character and you're level 60, right now because you can't like change say your hairstyle, that's probably a later down the road. That's not that our biggest thing we want to do is get more hairstyles into the character creator before we're actually is more higher priority than the ability to change.
You missed your time to shine earlier. I had a scuffed moment.
I can go and get a haircut and have a different hairstyle. I don't have to.
I didn't sleep well.
So I
Oh, that
understand.
sucks.
I understand
some
that.
of us would like to roll a new.
The worst. I'm sorry.
I understand the question, the desire, the goal.
Oh no, and we all agree with the goal. We're just saying in terms of priorities.
Are we going to add a completed side quest tab?
Who's asking?
Who's asking?
Oh, sorry. I'm so bad at this. It's because
At least we all agree on something.
Well, it's like a different font color, and you can easily move off from it.
Thick burn.
It's a really hard name. Burn 1 N9 M4 N. There we go. I'm just gonna read it out like that because I'm not gonna butcher the name.
You put the forethought to actually look at those elite spellings in case it actually says something you shouldn't say out loud. Have you thought about?
Well, if I just say it by number or whatever, as opposed to saying
safe.
that, then I'm okay. Are you gonna add a completed side quest tab to the journal?
We
That'd
wanna
be good.
improve the things that the journal, or that not necessarily the journal specifically, but that can be tracked through the
Down
UI
with
over
that.
time to allow.
Like to know
more
what's
situations
completed.
Where maybe you see something in the game and you want to go back and look at it in the future.
Is everyone yelling?
Over time.
Everyone said hi to everyone.
Future plans.
I mean, the thing too. I think part of what's driving that, which I totally get, that makes total sense what they're asking, but you don't need to do all side quests to complete your renown for that area. Like you can do it through other things, right?
Yeah.
So though there's a completionist notion of, because we have some surprise side quests that you can't track. So the notion of
Dang!
the mob
Yeah, that's me.
thing, and there's no way to know that on the map. And right now, there's no way to say, oh, I'm missing that sword falling one, and people could go like, oh, go kill that wolf that drops the sword or whatever. So but if your desire for being a completionist around side quests is for renown, you can actually complete renown without doing all the side quests.
Yeah.
And then
Which is nice.
This is kind of a similar question, and I think this
You
kind of
have to
falls
do a
across,
lot in
like,
an area,
multiple
but you don't have to
from
do everything,
data
which is
teams,
really
They're
nice.
playing quality of life improvements like search functions in the stash or for specific dungeons. I will tell you, like, again, this is another, like, these are features that will obviously be looked at.
Search
and
functions.
The game is going to improve over time as we go from season to season. Lots of quality of life items will end up kind of appearing. We'll be evaluating them all as they kind of come in.
I mean, but with
And
like
one
search
last question,
functions, I
which
guess a lot of
is,
people
who's it
don't
from?
know the
Who's
exact
it
chest
from?
they're looking for or
And
whatever.
this one, I think, is just a clarification.
Give or
from
take,
people
but
who
like it
next
would
in.
help a lot of
Just
people, I'm sure.
Can you just re-clear something you said earlier, so we can keep all skill points, potion charges, max obols, and paragon points from renown for seasons?
Right. That's an important thing to clarify. So.
Yes, get this correct.
The renown, so things like paragon points at the end of the renown bar. You will start with some renown. You're not going to get
some
those
renown.
paragon points that require finishing the renown bar until you fill the renown bar.
Okay, well, so that's my fault because I misunderstood. So it wasn't that they didn't understand. I misexplained it. So currently, like in the Eternal Realm, if I go, if I, on one character, I complete the full renown bar, so I get my obels and I get my paragon points. If I roll an alt, I have those, I have the skill points, I have this potion charge, I have the obels, I have the paragon points, right now, being that are shared between my characters on my account.
Some elements of the paragon system are shared between characters. Things like the Altars of Lilith also give you stat points.
Right, but I'm just saying that that's how it works today in the Eternal Realm in terms of going between one character to another. The renown unlocks on the bottom level are account-wide, yes?
In seasons, you will, the things that are at the end of the renown bar, you will still have to acquire renown to get.
Right, that's why I was just trying to clarify what it is today for alts is different than what it will be in season reset. Right, so today with
alts versus season.
Oh, I clear all on my account, I get it across all my characters. So you're saying when we do a season reset, and if you clear it all on a character, or like when you have a map that's revealed in the Eternal Realm, when I go into the season, the map will be clear.
Right.
I'll have the renown for that, but I won't have like potentially the max 80 obels and the paragon automatically unlocked because I haven't discovered enough. I haven't gone and hit all those waypoints that would fill that bar.
Right. Yeah. But you will have the renown for revealing the map.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly what it needs to be going into seasons.
Right, and that'll trigger the other things like potion and skill points.
Yes.
And Mr. Joey P, just being me saying like, yeah, you get the renown from the Fog of War.
Sorry, who's Joey P? Is that one of the community members?
Yeah, Joey P.
Hey, it's Joey P.
but yeah.
Question from our own team is associate designer.
He mentions you get the renown from Fog of War Clear and the Altars of Discovery, which is what Joe had just mentioned. But then enough to get you through the first 2 tiers of renown in each zone. So
that sounds about right.
I thought it worked the way it works in the Eternal. Now it doesn't. It's basically.
I mean that sounds like that maths. If you have all the altars and all of the map,
well, we
should get you through the first tier, 2 tiers renowned.
We're eating into our lunch, but I do want to thank everyone for tuning in. This is our first Campfire Chat. Again, Campfire Chat.
Diablo Floor.
Really good opportunity for us to actually talk with the community, address specific
Would recommend
topics that players have been talking about, and at the same time, just chat.
Yeah, I mean, the intention is we want to have more ad hoc, informal. We don't want to have to wait till some big thing or whatever. Like, this is a game we're all playing and want to talk about. So we just want to be able to not have this like, okay, the 3rd Thursday of every month.
I think Diablo 4 is doing a lot of things right in their creator, their dev, community engagement, expression. Like, there's a lot of things to like about how Diablo 4 is operating.
We're up there.
Still like
700 as of yesterday's. Still like 700 slots for people to make it on the statue.
We're actually digging the hole for the statue on campus. So they're pouring the cement thing to the statue can go on top of. So so like
Rod's always giving spoilers.
What, that we're putting the statue on campus? How's that a spoiler?
It's just like it's blocked off. No one can like see it. Even internal people can't see it. You know.
I'm just saying.
You can't see a hole in the ground. That's a spoiler. I don't.
Your name, like as the development team is walking to lunch, they can see your name on the statue. I think it's kind of cool, and that reminds us our community and our fans out there who are playing the game.
Odds of me making that statue
like, oh my God,
are next to nil.
We made it
next to non-existent.
And play the game at their pace, and we wanted to get through.
If I'm gonna be honest,
our first 10 days plus early access, so that people didn't feel.
I've had a really bad start with the hardcore trying to go that way.
For hardcore, bold people who decided to do a hardcore like on our first day because definitely a little rock and roll. But we wanted people to have that opportunity. So there's still, still 700 spots available. So if you haven't rolled a hardcore yet,
700 as of yesterday.
Be the day, or I'm sure we still have lots of time to get there. So, and
300 people have made it. That is impressive.
Yeah, who knows?
That 300 people have made it to hardcore 100.
I did want to.
That's a feat. That like it's hard to explain how huge that is.
Planning for that to be in early July. We'll be going over season 1 details.
Lots of hours. Yeah, I'd have to work at it a lot harder than I am right now, Bull. I do like it. It's a lot of fun, but it's not a priority, I don't think.
it's a really cool season.
It
Can't
is.
wait
The
to go.
competition goes till September, and we'll see how
Wait, you can't have
it
an inside
plays
joke that
out.
people don't know.
From the previous stream,
Right.
it
We
is
joked
not
that
zombies.
It is not zombies. Zombies was our illustrative example of what the season could be, but is not. So do not. That was we were just referring.
Next season is
But
not
yeah, so
zombies,
make sure to tune in
guys.
For that, and of course,
No
you
need to
know,
panic.
We'll have more of these
It's
campfire
not
chats. There's still lots
zombies.
of updates that are coming here really soon.
Yay, Tiffany!
Yay, Tiffany!
Keep rolling, just keep rolling.
And we'll have of course all those patch notes
That's
and details
significant.
up on the site once those are available.
I mean,
As you
that's
just heard,
a
lot of these
thing.
changes are going to be coming before season
That's
1.
definitely information.
So we'll make sure to keep you guys informed. Make sure to follow us on social at Diablo on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, etc.
Here, smash that subscribe button for you,
Smash that
Adam.
subscribe button, guys.
Smash the
Like and
like,
subscribe.
like,
But yeah, thank you guys
subscribe,
again,
do the
and we'll see you
things,
on the next
chat.
stream.
Bye. Get out of here. I mean, good information. Like, I think they're moving in the right direction. It definitely sounds like they're listening to the players and they're working on things that players are interested in. I think Diablo 4 is doing a really good job at listening to the community, working towards the community. The biggest thing, the most important thing I think they discovered or talked about that is huge is the renowned system, not having to redo altars, not having to redo map. Those are the two grinds in the game that people don't want to repeat. It's fun once, it's not fun twice type things. The fact that you still have a renowned system that focuses on like your side quests, side dungeons, strongholds, waypoints, that's all fine. I can redo all of that stuff. That's content. That's getting where you need to go. But having to do the map, having to do the altars, things that you wouldn't naturally do on normal game progression, that would have been annoying to have to redo those in seasons. So that is the biggest announcement, the most important one. And I think that's going to keep a bulk or a large part of the player base coming back and enjoying the fact that that's how they did it. I think that's the biggest thing to take away. The other real good takeaway is the fact that like it really does seem and sound and feel like they're taking into consideration what the community wants, what the community is talking about, what the community is saying. And that's going to be really important for the long-term growth of the game. That's why I'm excited about the game. That's why I've been playing the game as much as I have. And I want to... I think that this is going to be a staple in my like content on Twitch and here on YouTube for a while. Like I think I'm going to be almost a main game Diablo streamer, but I'm still gonna do variety. But like for the foreseeable future is probably 2 or 3 days a week in Diablo, no questions, because I love the game and I think it has like great long-term content availability and progression. It's just been a ton of fun. For those of you that joined late, lol, Doug, you too. we had a long discussion about Kick. I opened up with, you can always go back and watch it in the VOD later or whatever. I put a Kick site up in the Discord. I have a Kick. I own the Skagbraggy name on Kick. I don't really foresee myself doing a lot on Kick until I get a lot more questions answered and kind of come up with a strategy if that's even where I want to go. But if you want to go follow it, help support that out, I'd appreciate it. But you know what? I need questions answered about Kick before I actually commit to Kick. The Skagbrag is on Kick. If any of you want to catch me in the future, you can catch me here on YouTube Tuesdays and Fridays, and over on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those are my primary platforms. That is where you can catch a bulk of my content. And yeah. I'm all about creators who listen to their community and make their stuff better. I mean, look, if they continue down that path and continue that trajectory, Diablo's going to do just fine for the foreseeable future and have a long life of content creation. I'll follow you once you decide to stream there. Like, right now, even if I get those questions answered, I almost feel like the only time I would spend on Kick right now is time that I would also be here. Like, if I went live on Kick right now, it would probably be a multi-stream with YouTube. Like, I would see the potential of doing both of those at the same time, but like, I don't foresee myself having Kick only days in the immediate future. Something significant would have to change in this whole dynamic of what Twitch is doing, what Kick is doing, and the whole streaming space. Right now, I don't see the metric that changes that dynamic for me. Even with the news that XQC is going to be streaming on Kick and Kick getting a huge influx of signups and everything like that off of that, I don't know what their long-term survivability and growth is. The fact that the second their site got flooded with requests, it shut down. Like, Kick as a platform was not accessible for several hours last night because the system could not handle the traffic on it. And for a streaming platform that brought on one of the largest streamers in the world, not being able to handle foot traffic is a very big issue. Hopefully they got that straightened out, because if it becomes a problem that every time XQC is live, no one else can be live because the site can't handle the footprint or traffic, that's a problem. That's a big problem. We'll see what happens, and like, I'll just keep watching it. I'll dive deeper into what's actually going on over there on Kick, as far as like my concerns about Stake and their intermingledness with the platform itself, because I do have very real concerns about that. I have no desire to expose my community to a onslaught of gambling like pressure, but yeah, I just have to look much deeper into it. Thanks for hanging out today, guys. You've been amazing. I love all of you. You will catch me live on Monday over on Twitch, and I will either be doing my normal character or maybe some hardcore stuff for Diablo 4. Diablo 4 Monday on Twitch. You guys are awesome. And then I should be back here on YouTube on Tuesday for probably Jedi Survivor, because that's been a really fun game too. Y'all have a good one. I will catch you all later. You're all beautiful. Bye.
My mother told me someday I will buy galley with good oars, sail to distant shores, stand up on the prow, noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven.